I was hired to restore a painting that screams. The painting arrived wrapped in 3 layers of black plastic, even though the museum courier said it had been stored in a climate-controlled vault for decades without incident. The inventory tag listed no artist name, only a catalog number and a handwritten warning: do not display under white light. I specialize in pigment restoration for damaged oil paintings, usually faded portraits and landscapes nobody remembers caring about anymore. This job paid triple my normal rate, wired up front, with a single instruction to document every step on video and upload daily progress to a private archive link. The painting depicted a narrow red corridor, painted in thick, uneven strokes, like the artist had worked with trembling hands. At the far end stood a tall figure in a black robe, its face smeared into a blur of pale whites and bruised blues. The surface of the paint was still tacky. I touched the lower corner with a gloved finger. The red pigment clung to the latex and stretched slightly, like skin resisting a cut. I told myself it was humidity damage. Under my restoration lamp, the corridor brightened unnaturally, the reds becoming almost luminous. A low sound filled my studio, so soft I thought it was traffic outside. It was coming from the painting, a long, wet exhale. I shut off the lamp. The sound stopped immediately. My phone vibrated with a new message from the museum contact I'd never spoken to directly. White light triggers the audio response. Continue using amber or red spectrum only. I hadn't told anyone about the sound. I switched to an amber lamp and resumed cleaning a small test patch near the bottom edge. As I lifted a layer of grime, a thin line of text emerged beneath the paint. It read, "Do not clean above the waist." I stepped back, heart racing. The robed figure's torso now looked slightly more defined than before, like fresh detail had been added since I started. I filmed everything and uploaded the footage to the archive link. The confirmation screen displayed a single sentence: "Subject shows appropriate compliance." The next morning, the painting had changed. The corridor looked longer. The figure was closer, and a second shape stood behind it, shorter, with my posture. I checked the time-stamped photos from the night before. The second figure hadn't been there. I received another message. "Phase 2 has begun. You may now clean above the waist." My hands shook as I raised the amber lamp higher. As I wiped the blurred face area, the paint peeled away too easily, revealing skin-toned pigment beneath. The eyes opened. The scream hit me like pressure in my skull. It didn't come from the speakers or the air. It came from inside my head. I dropped the cloth and fell backward, knocking over my chair. The scream cut off the moment the lamp hit the floor. On the canvas, the figure's mouth was frozen open. New text had appeared beneath its feet. Vocalization successful. My phone buzzed again. Do not interrupt behavioral emergence. That night, I dreamed I was standing inside the red corridor. The walls were breathing. The robed figure stood inches from my face, holding a frame like a doorway. When I woke up, my studio smelled like copper again. The painting now showed the corridor from a closer angle. I was in it, not a reflection. Not a blur. Me, standing behind the robed figure, my hands resting on his shoulders. The archive link auto-opened on my laptop. A new message filled the screen. Identity overlay in progress. Please continue restoration. I tried to quit the job. The museum's website no longer existed. The courier company number was disconnected. The wire transfer receipt on my bank app had changed its sender name to Curation Division. I covered the painting with a drop cloth. A muffled scream came from underneath it. My own voice. Text appeared on my phone screen without a sender. You are erasing yourself incorrectly. That evening, the drop cloth was gone. The painting was brighter. The corridor was fully lit. Only one figure remained inside it, me, facing forward, smiling. The final message arrived as my studio. Lights flickered red. Restoration complete. Exhibit scheduled. I heard a crowd murmuring behind me. My reflection in the dark monitor screen lifted its hand and pressed its palm flat against the glass. And somewhere inside the painting, something screamed my name again. I restored a film that wasn't meant to be watched. The film reel arrived in a plain cardboard box with my full name handwritten on it, even though I never told the archive my home address or agreed to accept private restoration jobs. Inside was a single 16mm reel labeled in red ink, for training purposes only. The word training was underlined 3 times, so hard the paper beneath it had torn. I work as a freelance film restorer, mostly cleaning mold and stabilizing forgotten educational reels for universities and small museums that don't trust digital conversions yet. This job came through a generic email with no signature, just a wire transfer confirmation and instructions to digitize the reel and upload the finished file to a provided link. The reel stock was warm when I touched it, like it had just been running through a projector, even though the shipping label said it had been in transit for 6 days. The film smelled faintly metallic and sweet, like overheated dust and blood. I told myself it was just old chemicals breaking down and loaded it into my scanner anyway. The first frame showed a red hallway, oversaturated and pulsing, filmed from chest height, like someone walking forward while trying not to breathe too loudly. A masked figure appeared at the far end, standing perfectly still, holding what looked like a conductor's baton made from bone. The film cut abruptly to a black screen with white text. Lesson 1, do not pause. I laughed and paused it out of reflex. The scanner froze. My monitor flickered. The file timestamp jumped backward 5 minutes on its own. The next frame showed the same hallway again, but now closer, the masked figure slightly taller, its head tilted as if annoyed. New text appeared. Repeat detected. Compliance required. My name followed beneath it, spelled correctly. I didn't pause again. The hallway footage continued, the walls now streaked with something dark that tripped upward instead of down, like gravity had been reversed inside the film. The masked figure raised the baton and tapped it once against the floor. A sound came through my speakers, even though the reel was supposed to be silent. It wasn't a tap. It was a heartbeat. The film cut to a wide shot of an empty theater stage, lit in deep blue, with rows of empty velvet seats and a single microphone standing center stage. I realized my eyes were burning because I hadn't blinked in over a minute. On screen, a woman stepped into the light. She opened her mouth and screamed without sound. My speakers played my own voice instead, whispering, "I'm watching." I ripped my headphones off. The audio kept playing through my studio monitors. The film cut back to the red hallway. The masked figure was now inches from the camera. Its mask wasn't smooth anymore. It had my facial proportions, my nose shape, my crooked left eyebrow. Text, Lesson 3, identification complete. I shut down the scanner. My entire desktop rebooted and reopened the film file automatically. The next scene showed my restoration studio from a corner angle near the ceiling. I was in the shot, seated at my desk, staring at the screen exactly like I was now. The timestamp in the corner read 10 minutes into the future. In the footage, I leaned forward and whispered something I hadn't said yet. The film cut to text. Lesson 4, do not deviate from script. My phone buzzed. A notification from the upload link I hadn't used yet. It said, digitization progress, 78% complete. I tried unplugging the scanner. The film kept playing. The hallway returned one last time, now flooded with red liquid that reflected the masked figure's face as my own. Text, Lesson 5, the lens is the subject. The film ended on a single frame. My front door, viewed from inside my apartment, slowly opening inward. The digitization finished. The upload link confirmed receipt. A new email arrived instantly. Subject, training successful. Body. You performed within acceptable emotional thresholds. You will now be used as reference footage for future candidates. I ran to my front door. It was locked. No signs of entry. My computer chimed. A new file appeared on my desktop. It was labeled with my name. The first frame showed me standing behind my own chair, holding a bone baton, waiting for myself to turn around. The radio station that only plays one song. The radio in my car turned on by itself at exactly 1:11 a.m. as I drove home from a late shift, even though I always leave it off because static gives me headaches. A low, warped piano melody came through the speakers, looping the same 5 notes over and over with no variation. No chorus, no silence between repetitions. The display read 97.7 FM, a frequency I'd never saved and that didn't belong to any station in my area. I tried changing the channel. The dial snapped back to 97.7 every time, like a magnet pulling the tuner needle into place. The melody started to feel wrong, not sad or scary, just misaligned, like it was half a second out of sync with reality. My headlights flickered as I passed an empty gas station, and for a split second, the pumps looked red like they were painted in fresh blood. A whisper slid into the music, so faint, I thought it was road noise. It said my name. I slammed the radio off button. The music kept playing. I pulled over and shut off the engine. The dashboard went dark. The piano continued through the dead speakers. My phone lit up with a notification from an unknown app icon. Broadcast synchronized. Subject confirmed. I restarted the car. The engine struggled, then caught. The display still read 97.7. The whisper came again, clearer now. Do not change the station. I drove the rest of the way home with my hands locked on the wheel, afraid to touch anything. When I parked, the song faded out for the first time. Relief washed over me. Then my apartment building's lobby speakers turned on. The same piano melody filled the empty space, echoing off the tile walls. I took the stairs instead of the elevator. Each floor had a different speaker mounted near the doors. All of them were playing the same song. Inside my apartment, my smart speaker was glowing. The piano notes poured out of it, perfectly in sync with the lobby audio outside my door. My phone buzzed again. Phase 1 complete. Auditory anchor established. I unplugged the speaker. The music kept playing from inside the walls. That night, I dreamed of a dark auditorium with red velvet seats and a single spotlight shining on an old radio sitting center stage. The radio dial slowly turned itself to 97.7. The song began. I woke up with blood in my mouth from biting my tongue. My phone showed a new message. Phase 2 vocal imprint. I went to work on 2 hours of sleep, trying to convince myself it was a prank, a glitch, anything explainable. At 1:11 p.m., every radio in the store turned on at once. The same 5-note melody. My coworkers froze, confused, covering their ears. The whisper came through the speakers. It said only my name. Everyone stared at me. My phone vibrated. Recognition successful. I ran to the break room and locked the door. The radio on the counter clicked on. The whisper spoke again, closer. Sing it. My throat tightened. The melody changed for the first time. It added a 6th note, a note that felt like pressure behind my eyes. My phone buzzed. Phase 3, participation required. I covered my ears and screamed. The song didn't stop. That night, every electronic device in my apartment turned on at 1:11 a.m. TV, laptop, phone, microwave display, alarm clock. All of them played the song, in perfect sync. The whisper said, "You are late." The melody shifted again. It now matched the rhythm of my heartbeat. My chest hurt. My phone showed a final message. Phase 4, post-integration. The whisper wasn't coming from the speakers anymore. I heard myself singing the 5 notes in the dark. My jaw moved on its own. The lights flickered red. The song changed one last time. It added my voice as a permanent layer. My phone screen lit up with a live broadcast interface. Title: 97.7 FM now playing. Artist: my name. The whisper said gently, "Do not change the station." The theater where the audience never leaves. I searched for experimental theater shows in my city and fell asleep with my laptop still open. It was printed on thick red paper and listed only a seat number, a time, and a venue name I didn't recognize. The address led me to an abandoned opera house downtown that I thought had been condemned years ago after a fire. The front doors were unlocked. Inside, the lobby lights were dim and red, casting long shadows across peeling gold trim and cracked marble floors. A woman in a black usher's uniform stood behind a podium, her face hidden by a smooth porcelain mask. She took my ticket without speaking and pointed me toward the main hall. The air smelled like dust and copper. Every seat in the theater was filled, not with people, with mannequins. There was a mannequin already sitting in it. It looked exactly like me. Same jacket, same shoes, same crooked posture. The usher appeared beside me silently and gestured to the empty seat next to it. I sat down. The lights dimmed completely. A single spotlight snapped on its center stage. A red velvet curtain rose slowly, revealing a bare wooden stage and a single microphone on a stand. Soft music began playing from somewhere above, a slow waltz with warped timing. A figure stepped into the light. It wore a long black coat and a featureless white mask. The figure raised a hand, and the music stopped instantly. It spoke into the microphone, my voice. "Welcome to tonight's performance." The mannequins began clapping. Their plastic hands struck together in perfect rhythm, filling the hall with a hollow, thunderous sound. The figure turned its head and looked directly at me. "Thank you for coming back." A spotlight snapped on over my seat. The mannequin beside me slowly turned its head. Its eyes weren't plastic anymore. They blinked. The figure on stage raised its hand again. The mannequin beside me stood up. So did the one in the row in front of me. Then another. Then another. Every mannequin in the theater rose to its feet in synchronized motion. The figure spoke again. Act 1. Recognition. The mannequins turned their heads toward me all at once. Their mouths opened. They whispered my name, over and over. The whisper grew louder, layered, echoing off the walls. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A message from an unknown sender. Role confirmed. The figure stepped off the stage and walked down the aisle toward me. With every step, the lights above flickered red. The mannequins' heads followed it. When it reached my row, it stopped in front of me. Up close, the mask had my facial proportions. My jawline, my nose, my scar above my eyebrow. It leaned down and whispered into my ear. "You were always the understudy." The mannequin beside me reached out and took my hand. Its grip was warm. The figure on stage raised its hand again. Act 2. Exchange. The mannequin beside me pulled me up out of my seat. My legs moved without my permission. The spotlight shifted to center stage. The mannequins began clapping again, slowly, in time with my heartbeat. The figure guided me down the aisle. I tried to scream. No sound came out. The microphone stood waiting. The figure stepped behind me and placed its hands on my shoulders. "Don't worry," it whispered in my voice. "You already know all your lines." The theater lights went out. When they came back on, I was standing alone on the stage. The microphone was inches from my mouth. The mannequins were all seated again. In the front row, I saw myself, sitting perfectly still, smiling. The red curtain began to close. My phone buzzed one last time in my pocket. Performance locked. Audience retention, 100%. The lights went dark. The applause started again. The song that started bleeding into my apartment. The first time I heard the song, it was playing faintly through my neighbor's wall at 2:43 a.m. A slow violin melody, warped like it was being dragged through water. I knocked on his door the next morning to ask him to turn it down. He told me he didn't own any speakers. That night the song played again, louder, coming from my own living room this time. My TV screen was off. My radio was unplugged. The sound was coming from the air itself. The melody wasn't sad or scary. It felt instructional, like something demonstrating how to feel. I recorded it on my phone. When I played it back, there was no audio, only silence, and a faint second track underneath. Breathing. My phone buzzed with a system notification I'd never seen before. Audio anchor detected. The next morning, a thin red line ran across my living room ceiling, perfectly straight, like someone had drawn it with a laser level. The song played softly beneath it. Each note made the red line throb. By afternoon, the line had spread into a slow drip that ran down the wall and pooled on the floor. It wasn't liquid. It was light. I touched it. The song jumped an octave. Pain flared through my hand like I'd grabbed a live wire. My laptop powered on by itself. A waveform filled the screen. It matched the melody perfectly. Text appeared over it. Phase 1. Frequency seeding. That night, the song changed. A second instrument joined in, a low cello hum that vibrated my chest cavity. The red light bled into my bedroom. It traced the outline of my bed. The song grew warmer, closer. My phone buzzed again. Phase 2. Spatial claim. I tried to leave my apartment. The hallway outside my door was glowing faintly red. The song was louder out there. Every apartment door was closed. Every peephole was dark. My phone showed a new message. Boundary not permitted. I slammed my door shut. The song softened, as if pleased. The next morning, my bathroom mirror was fogged over. A red treble clef symbol was drawn in the condensation. The melody played directly behind my ears. I spun around. Nothing was there. My phone buzzed. Phase 3. Neural tuning. The song started following my thoughts. When I panicked, it sped up. When I calmed down, it slowed. It learned my emotional tempo. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, the song moved inside my head. It replaced my inner voice. My laptop screen filled with text while I stared at it. Phase 4. Host resonance. The red light now covered every wall, every ceiling, every corner of my apartment. It pulsed with my heartbeat. The song added a third instrument, a human voice, mine, singing a harmony I didn't remember recording. My phone vibrated one last time. Phase 5. Merge complete. The walls dissolved into red light. The melody expanded into something enormous. I felt my body thinning, stretching into vibration. The song wasn't in my apartment anymore. My apartment was inside the song. My phone screen lit up. A music app interface I didn't install. Now playing Apartment No 312. Artist, my name. The song faded out. The red light stayed. I heard a new melody starting somewhere far away. In another building.